No reason to panic. The Brewers are in, and now they can kick back and relax and wait for next Tuesday when wild card playoff action begins. Good to have you along here. Hope you're enjoying this one, everybody. We got a full edition coming up of Locked On Brewers. That's coming up next.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Brewers. I'm Chuck Freeman. 36,000 on hand at AmFam Field tonight. Saw the Brewers lose and get into the postseason. Like I said in the short video I did earlier, right after the game, my instant reaction, I don't remember the Brewers ever losing to get into the postseason. It was kind of awkward. Christian Yelich said as much on the field after the game, said, yeah, it was different, losing, you're down about losing. And then moments later, you're celebrating, you're throwing champagne at everybody. But hey, you know what? They deserve it. They deserve it because they've played since April the best baseball out of anybody in the NL Central. They fought off challenges from the Cubs, the Cincinnati Reds, the St. Louis Cardinals never threatened them. Pittsburgh, I think, was in first place for more weeks than the Cardinals because I think the Pirates were in first place like at the end of April, weren't they? Like for a half a game or so. Yeah, the Pirates, you almost forget about that. They got off to a great start, and the Pirates started the Pirates, and they lost like 9 in a row, and there they were, and they were done. Good to have you along. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Thank you, everybody, for following me along all season long. We are just getting started. Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all of the major platforms. Download us. We're the number one podcast on the internet because of you, the great Brewer fans, the 36,000 that are out at AmFam Field watching the Brewers celebrate an NL Central Division title. And, of course, follow us on YouTube as well. Go to YouTube. Search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell, and that'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. And, of course, hit me up on Twitter as well, our growing Twitter audience, Chuck Freeman, Freimund. Yeah, Rock said this on the broadcast tonight, and he's right. Don't ever take these division titles for granted. The Brewers have 3 of them in the last 6 years. They've gone to the postseason 5 of the last 6 years. Now, I think if you're a millennial in your teens or whatever, you're saying, man, the Brewers are just awesome. They're going to the playoffs every year. But there was a time when I was a kid when, the last time they made the playoffs was 1982. Didn't make it again until 2008. So went 26 years without going to the postseason. And they went in as a wild card team that year and then won the division title in 2011. And then after 2011, it wasn't until 2018 that they got back in the postseason. 2019, got it as a wild card, disappointment in Washington. 2020, we won't even count. They played the Dodgers. 2021, they got beat by the Braves, division champs. 2022, finished 10 games over the 500 mark and didn't get in. And here we are, 2023. And the Brewers, the term and the pundits are going to say, oh, the Brewers backed in. No, they didn't back in. They put themselves in position to have a little buffer. And if they lost and the Cubs blew it, hey, you know what? They're going to be in. They're going to be in. They're going to win the NL Central. And the Brewers deserved every bit of it. They didn't back into nothing. Even if it went down to the final game of the season, they would have lost and the Cubs would have lost. Didn't back in because they won enough games. They have more wins in the left column than the right column. As, the great Bo Ryan used to say, the left side of the ledger and the right side of the ledger. So, third title in the last 6 years, and don't ever take these for granted. I've talked about how great the Brewer fans out there, and they get 36,000. I don't want to hear anybody say, well, he should have had 43,000. No, they had 36,000. It was great. That was great. 36,000. Fantastic being out there tonight. This is the first time I had not been out there since that I've missed a clinching. I had so much to do tonight here at the studios and all that, and I could not get out there. But I covered the game remotely tonight. But we'll for sure be doing all our shows next week and all the games from AmFam Field we'll be doing Locked On Brewers. Be covering those in person. But yeah, how about the Cubs blowing a 6-0 lead? I mean, the Cubs, just got to laugh at the Cubs. You know, those bumbling Cubs. Yeah, they won a World Series in 2016. God, they almost blew that too. But yeah, Suzuki, I don't know what that was. The botched fly ball. Check it out on YouTube if you haven't seen it on social media. It's on Twitter, I'm sure. I mean, weird. I mean, I don't know how he drops that, but Cubs blew a 6-0 lead, and the Braves came back and won the game. Allowed the Brewers to clinch. But the Brewers were going to do it, whether they did it Tuesday night, they were going to do it Wednesday, Thursday. We were not. Although some of you guys began to get a little pessimistic, from what I understand, they were not going to not win this title. Although in 82, they were the final week of the season, they were losing, and finally they won on the final day of the season, and they were able to clinch their first division title in 82. But most of you guys weren't even born in 82, so when I talk about the 82 Brewers, I have to be reminded, Chuck, nobody remembers the 82 Brewers. It's a shame, but we should. Of a certain age, will definitely, but we moved on. All right. Yeah, don't take these division titles for granted. It was so cool, though, to see them celebrate after a loss, the champagne flowing in the locker room. And I was telling you about that the other day on other episodes, man. It's dangerous. They got the goggles now. They never used to have the goggles. But I'm seeing some of my fellow media guys in there fighting, battling to keep their equipment and themselves from getting destroyed by the flying champagne, because that champagne is coming out of nowhere. It is. It's coming out of nowhere. I got sprayed really good in 2018 by, God, who was it? 2018. It'll come to me a little bit later. 2018 in Colorado. I got it really, really good. And I got a picture with him too. I can't remember who it was. Outfielder. God, I can't remember who it was. But anyway, I'll probably think of it after I'm done with this podcast. So the Brewers will wait now and can become spoilers for the Cubs this weekend. We can do more damage to the Cubs. We'll talk about the Brewers game tonight. We'll talk about some comments by Sal Frelick, which stunned me. Comments by Sal Frelick stunned me about tonight. We'll get to all that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers brought to you in part by Nutrafol. Nutrafol is a great sponsor here of Locked On Brewers. Nutrafol, take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription, free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code Locked On. Now, Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and the visible scalp coverage. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements use physician-formulated, natural, science-backed ingredients. Their drug-free, patented technology provides consistent, reliable results without compromising your sexual health. So go to Nutrafol, Nutrafol.com/men to take their hair health wellness quiz, identify the causes of your thinning hair, and they'll tell you the steps that you need to take. But go to Nutrafol, spelled Nutrafol.com/men, and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol.com/Locked On MLB, promo code Locked On MLB. Man, I drank some coffee before coming on the show today. I probably shouldn't have, man. I was, it went down the wrong hole about 30 seconds before coming on, doing this podcast, and my goodness, right there, it almost got to me. Anyway, good to have you along. Nutrafol. Shop now at Nutrafol.com/men, and you see it on the screen right here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all your major downloads, and we're on everywhere you want to find us. You go to, there's platforms out there that I've never even heard of before that guys have said they've dropped Locked On Brewers. So wherever it takes, and set the alert button on there as well. Go to YouTube Search Locked On Brewers, and you'll get every episode of Locked On Brewers right here on YouTube. I'm in a giddy mood tonight. I'm just happy that the Brewers clinched this division title. I'm fired up. I kind of wish I would have went out there. I was prepared to come out there on Wednesday night if they didn't get the job done. And the way things were going, didn't look like they were, the Cubs, who would have guessed they would have blown a 6-0 lead. The Brewers did lose to the Braves. But, man, I am so happy because when the season started here on Locked On Brewers, I didn't know what kind of season this was going to have. I figured they were going to contend with the St. Louis Cardinals. I thought they would. I really did. I thought the Cardinals had the better team. I said that at the beginning of the season. Did not expect the bottom to drop out from the very beginning with them. And didn't think Cincinnati was going to challenge. Certainly not the Cubs, the Pirates for the 2 days that they challenged. But I am absolutely thrilled to death about this, being a lifelong Brewer fan. I am. I was just excited to do the show tonight, wrapping up my work earlier for AP and getting to the mic and being able to talk about this because, my God, this 2014, I thought 2014, they had a shot at things and they didn't make it to the postseason. 2011, losing to the St. Louis Cardinals the way they did. 2018, losing in Game 7. Remember driving to Miller Park, 2018 for Game 7. The sun was setting, and I'm like, man, I'm going to Game 7 of the NLCS at a ballpark that I've been to 1,000 times, on the land I've been to 1,000 times. So, yeah, I do not take this postseason trip for granted as well. It was well-earned. The Brewers well-earned this. Craig Counsell said something after the game, says the Brewers could do something special. He says they have the personnel to do something special in the postseason. And I really believe that. The hitting is much better. It could be inconsistent like anything else. We know it, but it's less erratic than it was early in the season. Now, if you're to tell me in May or June or July that this team have a makeup of a championship level team, no, of course not. It didn't. But after the Dodgers series, things began to click with these guys, and Santana and Canna began to settle in. And Canada added the big bat against Washington a couple of weeks ago. That grand slam. Santana has done his part. Donaldson has added some big at bats, so some veterans added to this young team. And now you got something because, again, June, you're talking June. I'll just say June. If you would ask me about June, are the Brewers going to do anything? I think they can win the division title, but I can't see them doing much in the postseason. But now I feel like they can do something in the postseason because as Rock was talking about on the Rock again, talking about the broadcast. Yeah, he's right. Their approaches have been different since they've made these moves since the series against the Dodgers. The Brewers have stepped it up offensively. Yeah, there's going to be some times like tonight where, they step in the bucket a couple of times in recent days as well. You just hope it doesn't happen in the postseason. But I feel really good about the Brewers going in. Really good. Let's just stay healthy, get through these final games, spoil the Cubs' chances. They're all these Cub fans are going to all be up here this weekend. You know that. I almost wish they would clinch before coming here, but I don't think that's possible now, or that they would have been eliminated by the time they got here. So I think these games are probably going to mean something this weekend, starting on Friday. And of course, we'll have coverage. We'll still be here on Locked On Brewers doing these shows. Even though the Brewers have clinched, we'll be, riding it out into that first. We won't know until Sunday night, I would say, when the games are done, what time the Brewer games are going to be. Now, I know those ticket sales, Shannon was asking me about getting tickets for the wild card round. They went on sale, and I had said, well, the problem is you don't know what time the games are going to start. It's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but it could be a day game. And if you don't have any vacation time, if all your vacation time is spent and you're holding some tickets, you're going to have to sell those somewhere, which is okay. But, she didn't want to do that. So we'll find out probably Sunday night. I would think the Brewers, if they're playing the Marlins, I'm guessing they're probably going to put that in the afternoon. I'm guessing the Brewers are probably headed for afternoon wild card games next week. Unless they're playing the Cubs, then I guess they'd sneak into the night because the Brewers alone, they'll bury them in the afternoon. The national networks will. unless they're playing a high-profile team. In that case, they might get some prime time or right around late afternoon, maybe. But I'm guessing my gut feeling tells me the Brewers will be playing afternoon games, especially if they're playing the Marlins next week or Arizona. They'll play afternoon games. So I got to tell you about Sal Frelick and what he said. I'll tell you about that coming up next. That was really interesting what he said on the field after the game today. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I survived that coffee. I went down the wrong hole. Oh, man. I thought I was going to have to take a commercial break and come back in 10 minutes. But here we are. Follow us along on Google, Spotify, Apple, all the major downloads, and, of course, Locked On Brewers on YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube. If you're not already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button on Locked On Brewers. Once you download the episode, hit that bell there. We're going to alert you. It'll alert you every time we drop an episode. You're going to want to be here for the postseason because we got some good things coming up here in the postseason. Analysis throughout the week, even on off days, right here on Locked On Brewers. Okay, the Brewers and Cardinals do play coming up on Wednesday night, 6:40. The broadcast on SiriusXM, the SXM app, search Brewers, and you'll get all the 162 of Brewers baseball this year, next year, and who knows when. But the Brewers will play on the Cardinals 2 more times, and then they got the Cubs coming up on Friday night. That'll be a 7-10 start, I believe, on Friday night. All right, we'll come back after this break and tell you about what Mr. Frelick said. All that's coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Modern medical care and treatment are important, but our global supply chains are fragile. Things like pandemics, natural disasters, and foreign travel may cut you off from treatment you need. Jase Medical is your solution. Just fill out their online form, and one of Jase Medical's board-certified physicians will review it to determine whether medications are safe and appropriate. They'll send your prescriptions to one of their partner pharmacies where your order will be filled and mailed directly to your home. You can also send your physician a message for answers to treatment to any related questions at any time. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jase Medical offers the Jase case. Save more than $360 by getting those life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 by using the promo code Locked On at checkout, jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. All right, we'll tell you about those comments from Mr. Frelick and look ahead to the wild card chase. All that's next here on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Your host, Chuck Freeman here. Thanks, everybody, for staying up late. I'm sure, some of those places on Blue Mount Road are percolating tonight with the fans, 36,000 there on a weeknight to see the Brewers, I don't want to say back in, clinch the NL Central Division title. And, man, I'm looking forward to next Tuesday when the Brewers have their first wild card game. And, they'll either face Arizona, the Cubs, the Marlins. The Reds are now a game and a half out. Reds just won't go away. Arizona, as we talked about on the show yesterday, their 2 top starters, and Zach Gallen in particular, scares me. So, yeah, the Brewers running up against those 2 studs that are at the top of the rotation for the Diamondbacks, I don't want any part of that. The Cubs, I'm good with the Cubs, although I don't want to see the fans here. The Marlins, the Marlins are pesky, but the Brewers are a better team. And the Reds, the Reds. We took a series from them earlier in this year. The Reds, they don't scare me at all. Although De La Cruz hit one about 700 feet tonight. My goodness. Sal Frelick made some comments tonight. Said he thought the last 3 days the team did not play loose. He said it was not any fun. He said the pressure began to get to the team. Now, could that be because they don't have any postseason experience? He said they did not play loose. The pressure was getting to them. Ooh, I was surprised to see this. He said all season, pretty much, they played loose, but they had not played loose in the last couple of days, the last 3 days. This last 3 days. They had to play loose on Friday against Miami. So Saturday, it kicked in for these guys that they got tight, and Sunday. Because Friday they won 16-1. Saturday they came back and lost. They were down and Santana hit the home run, and then Payamps threw that ball in the dirt and lost it, and they got their butts kicked on Sunday, and then, we're pretty lifeless out there today. But, hey, Sal Frelick, he's not lying. If that's what he says, that's what he says. We were not playing loose. We were not having any fun. I was not having any fun. Well, you got to play loose. You can't play that you got a ton of dynamite on your back. You don't want to do that. You can't play that way. Sports isn't that way. You can't play tight. You can't play golf. You can't do anything when you're tight. I'm not saying you have to go out there and have fun. I don't know what having fun is in sports. Sports is not fun. Sports is being about competition. But he said they were tight, and they felt the pressure began to get them. My goodness. Well, I hope they get over that real quick, because there's pressure going to be coming up beginning next Tuesday, because every game means something, as you all know out there. So, yeah, that little odd to see that comment today that Sal Frelick thought that the pressure on the Brewers began to mount. And was there any pressure in the last couple of days? Because they had built themselves a big lead. They played some great September baseball for the most part to allow themselves to clinch this early with games to spare. I don't understand why there was any pressure. How could there be pressure when you have such a big lead? It wasn't like it was going down to the final games of the season. Then I would say, yeah, there could be some pressure. So, yeah, they need to get over that real quick, the pressure on this team. And maybe because, well, there's guys like Christian Yelich who've been the postseason. Brandon Woodruff's been Corbin Burns has been to all these teams, all these postseasons since 2018. All these guys have been, these veterans. But Santana, played the Pirates. He's played for a few other teams as well, but he's got a lot of experience. But the young guys, I think, on this team, maybe that's it. Mark Canha's got some experience. I don't know. I just was a little surprised to see Sal Frelick say that. All right, we got 2 more games left, the Cardinals, and then bring on those Cubs this weekend, and a chance to spoil a whole lot of things with the Chicago Cubs. Although, I'll be honest, I'd rather have the Cubs get in there than Arizona. If it comes down to the Brewers having to, lay down for these guys, which they wouldn't do, I would be okay with that, because I do not want to face Arizona and those 2 top pitchers at all. Don't want any part of great pitching. And I think they got the best pitching. Cincinnati's pitching stinks. So if they get him refined, the Brewers can handle the Marlins. And the Cubs pitching, well, there's a couple of guys. Hendricks obviously is always been an issue for the Brewers. So, but I'm okay with anybody but Arizona. Brewers and Cardinals in the final game of that series coming up Thursday. We got game 2 of the series coming up on Wednesday night, and that's going to be on Sirius XM, the SXM app. Search Brewers, you get all 162 of Sirius XM Brewers baseball, and of course you get all the baseball games. You can follow the Cubs, if Cardinals, anybody you want on Sirius XM. It is outstanding. I have it. Got it for the NFL as well. You got the NBA in there, on the NBA in there as well. It's all good. All right. So the Brewers, all they have left to do down here in the regular season is to play spoilers and get everybody healthy, get everybody in line, make sure the pitchers get their work in, and just keep on playing. Some guys are going to get some rest. Yelich is back, and away we go towards the postseason beginning next Tuesday. All right, we still got shows coming up here this week. And, again, you can follow our Locked On Brewers on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major downloads everywhere. Hit us up anywhere. All your major downloads. Set your alerts so it's there in the morning when you want to download your podcast. And, of course, you go to YouTube. Search Locked On Brewers. I've been trying to get 2,000 followers. We're over 2,000. Let's keep pushing on to that. Thank you, and that's because of you great Brewer fans. Go to Locked On Brewers on YouTube. Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that little bell. That's going to alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. And you everydayers out there, you are the ones that made this podcast something special. And Celebrate, man. We got a division title. They don't grow on trees. 3 in the last 6 years. But as I said at the top, don't take those for granted. We got to love every one of our division championships. We do. We do. Now let's turn it into something bigger. Okay, they've made the postseason 5 of the last 6 years, but the furthest they've gone is Game 7 of the NLCS. And only one NLCS appearance in those 5 years. So let's take it a step further. It's been since 1982 that we've had a World Series in this town. And Counsell talked about this could be a special team. He says they could do something special with the personnel. I'm sure he's talking about the pitching and the combination of the offense, which, has been hit and miss, but has been better than it was earlier in the season. Going to do it. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, everybody.